Good morning everyone, how are you? This is Brigadier Amar from Civil Defence Academy, Ranchi. Now today I shall be talking in detail about the personal interview, which is part of the test which happens at SSB. Now candidates, you are aware that when you go for the SSB, you are assessed independently by 3 different assessors. A psychologist, they assess you for your psychological bent of mind by giving you 4 psychology tests. Then a GTO or the group testing officer, he will test you over 2 days. There are 10 tests and he will see how you behave in a group. He tests your group dynamics. And then the third assessor, who is the interviewing officer, who could either be a colonel or a brigadier, he will be conducting a personal interview. Now, at times candidates ask me, sir, which is more important, which has got more marks? So I must clearly tell you that the marks of each of these 3 is exactly same. That is, you will get exactly same mark for all the psychological tests, that is the 4 tests which you have in day 2. The same marks are given by the GTO, which you get over 2 days, and the same marks are being given by the interview, which happens in about 40-45 minutes time. So now you understand the importance of interview. In the same time of 40-45 minutes, the marking will be same what you get in the 2 days of your effort in a GTO or 1 day of your effort in a psychology test. Okay, so let's understand about the personal interview. Now candidates, personal interview can be on any of the 3 days. That is, it can be on the day 2, that is after the psychology test. It can be also on the day 3 or day 4 after the GTO test. Why the day for the interview is not fixed? Because each interview takes about 40-45 minutes, sometimes even 1 hour. So our interviewing officer cannot finish the interview of all the candidates in our SSB in 1 day. So you will be given a date and time where your PI will be conducted. Now before I go on to the interview proper, something about the dress code. Now candidates, it is very important to dress properly. In my tenure at SSB Allahabad as president, sometimes I used to feel very sad seeing some candidates very poorly dressed. Please understand that dress makes the first impression. As soon as you enter the office of the colonel or the brigadier who is going to take your interview, if you are properly dressed, I have seen at times someone in chappal, I have seen candidates who don't shave, perhaps their trousers and all are not very well dressed. So be formally dressed. You should be putting on a full shirt, a pant and a shoe. Similarly, a formal dress for girls. If it is a winter time, then accordingly put on a tie, and if it is very cold, then put on a blazer or a coat. So get dressed properly, be shaven clearly, and you should have a good cheerful smile. You should look neat and clean before you enter the office of the interviewing officer. Okay, so now let's talk about the interview. Now through an interview about 40 to 45 minutes, the interviewing officer, he tries to assess your personality. He tries to see, do you have those various qualities which we require as an officer in the defense forces. Now once you are asked to go for the interview, you go to the office where you have been asked to go, knock at the door, ask for the permission to enter inside. The officer will ask you to come and sit down on a chair. Ensure that you sit in a relaxed manner, but don't be slumped or don't sit like this. No, sit in a normal fashion but relaxed. Have a cheerful smile on your face. Don't look too tensed or too sad, and be ready to receive the questions which are thrown to you by the interviewing officer. Now candidates, generally the interviewing officer will divide his interview in 3 parts. Though it is not fixed, it is not mandated that he will always go about in this manner. But by and large, we try to follow a system where in first part we ask about the academic performance of the candidate. So the questions will generally be about your school, your college, about your marks that you obtained, about your preference for subjects which you like, any subject you did not like. Then he may talk about any teachers or professors that you especially like, anyone you did not like. He will talk about the friends in your school and college who were very close friends. Then he may also ask you about your participation in various activities like games and sports, like your participation in extracurricular activities, and he also may ask you about your career options. So this is how generally the first portion of the interview will go on. So once you are seated comfortably in the chair, the interviewing officer may ask you some questions just to make you comfortable. For example, they may ask you, you come from which place, what are the important things to know about your place, or he may ask you about the SSB here, are you liking the food or no, have you made some friends or no. So these questions are basically to make you comfortable. Okay, and before I go to the issues in the main interview, I must tell you candidates that please remember what you have filled in the PIQ. You must have filled your PIQ on day 1 in the afternoon. I will have a separate detailed video on PIQ as to how you should fill the PIQ. But here, please remember that whatever you write in the PIQ, you should remember that and don't contradict in the interview. For example, in PIQ you have written that I play basketball and cricket. But in the interview, when the officer asks you what games you play, you perhaps add a third game, or you don't mention about one of the games which you have mentioned. So there is a contradiction between what you have filled in the PIQ and what you are saying. Or for example, the marks which you have written in the PIQ, which you got in 10th or 12th, and what marks you tell the interviewing officer here, there is a variation. So that will not be taken very positively by the interviewing officer. So you must remember what you have filled in the PIQ, and also you must try to know about all the aspects which you have filled in the PIQ before you come for the interview. For example, if you have written a sports like the basketball or cricket, be prepared to be asked some questions on basketball. For example, the size of the court or any rule of the game. In cricket, for example, he may ask you the position, say where is the gully, where is the point. So do some research and analyze and understand all the issues which you have mentioned in the PIQ. Okay. So in the first portion of the interview, you will be asked about your academic issues. So he will ask you about your marks and grades which you got in your 10th, 12th and beyond, about the subjects which you like and any subject you do not like, about your teachers or professors that you liked and anyone you for some reason you did not like. He may ask you about your friends in your school and college. He may ask you about your participation in various activities like games, sports, or in any other extracurricular activities. And he also may query you about your career options. So, go prepared for all this. My tips to you candidates is that listen to the interviewing officer with lot of attention. Now, you must have seen that I have mentioned he may ask you a series of questions. So, this question which is posed at you actually has got 6 to 7 questions. So, try to keep it in your mind what all he is asking and try to answer them one by one. If you forget one or portions, you can always politely ask him, sir, can you repeat if I have missed out on any sub portion of your question. He won't mind that. But if you are attentive, it is quite likely that you will be able to answer all the questions which he has thrown at you. And of course, based on your answer, then he may ask you subsequent question. Now, since you are applying for a defense, please also try to know about the service which you have applied. For example, if you applied for Air Force, try to learn about the Air Force. You should be prepared to be asked about the fighters aircrafts or the helicopters or the latest missiles or the latest radars. what are the new discussions which is taking place in the Air Force, who is the Air Chief, similarly for Army and Navy. And within that service also, like in Army, if you are applying for say artillery, you want to join artillery or infantry, you should have a fair idea about that. All this information is readily available in the net. Try to know as much as it is feasible. So this generally will be how the first portion of the interview will go. In the second portion, normally the interviewing officer will ask about your family. So he will ask you about who are your close family members, what is your relationship with them, how do you interact with them, who is very close to you emotionally, who do you approach if you have a problem on your hand. Also he may ask you about your routine in your home. Do you help out your parents and your other family members when you have a spare time. He may also ask you about your friends in your locality. He may also ask about your the way you expend your money. If you are not working, then I am very sure you will be taking some money from your parents. So how do you spend that? If you are earning, then he may ask you as to how do you spend the money which you get. See, aim of this is to try to analyze as to do you have some method of spending the money which you earn, or you just earn and spend without thinking. Similarly, he is asking the question on your daily routine. So he is trying to see, are you a person who has got a logical way of planning his day, or you are a person who has got no plan. So have a routine in your daily life, on a working day or on a day which is a holiday. And of course, there could be some questions which are based on the answers which you give. Now, this is how the second portion will go. Now, in the third portion, candidates, he may ask you about your activities in your spare time. So, what is your hobbies and interests? How do you spend your spare time? Do you read any books like novels which are not part of your routine, like your subjects in your class or part of your job? Do you read any newspaper? What are your special programs which you see in the TV? How do you use internet? See, he's trying to see as to what are your interests. Are you the one who is totally focused only on your academics or on your job, or do you have some wide interest? A person with wider interest is always much more suitable to be inducted into the defense forces. He will definitely query you on your knowledge of what is happening in the world. That is the current affairs. What is happening in the within the country, what is happening outside the country. So my suggestion to you candidates is that to on everyday basis read about the current affairs. Read a newspaper, a good newspaper like the Times of India, Indian Express or a Hindu, or if you have access to a good YouTube channel which gives out good analysis, you can follow that. But my suggestion is that make notes on topics. Normally what candidates do, they keep reading or they keep seeing the YouTube or news, but they don't make notes. So your knowledge is not very comprehensive. So what I suggest that in a notebook, write one main topic. Nowadays we have issues of Russia-Ukraine war, or we have issues of Israel-Hamas war, or there is a NATO expansion, or US-China relationship, India-China relationship. There is a Quad issue, there is a G20 issue. So on each subject, if you can make notes from internet and from the newspaper, then you will be much better prepared to answer your queries in the interview. Accordingly, now within the country, you have so many issues: Manipur issue, J&K and 370. There is an issue of corruption in politics and in the country in general. There is an issue of unemployment. Now there is an issue of caste census. So again, on each topic, if you make comprehensive notes, you will be much better prepared to be able to handle the questions in the interview. It will also, candidates come very handy in group discussion as well as in other discussions which are part of the SSB, for example, the lecturing. So read widely about what is happening in the India and the world, and you will be much better prepared for a successful interview. And in the end, candidates, interview officer normally will ask you to assess yourself. So do introspect about yourself. Try to know what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, how you are trying to overcome your weaknesses. So these are the queries which you should be well prepared to be able to answer if you are asked about them. So I have given you overall analysis of how to go about preparing for the interview, the overall questions which may be asked to you, and I am very sure if you act on my advice and you prepare accordingly, you will come out very successfully in the personal interview at the SSB. So if you have more queries on the interview, you can please ask us on the number given in the video and in the app. So candidates, you can download the Trishul Defense Academy app, where you have all the information about the various courses that we offer online and offline. हम लोग एक ऑनलाइन इंटरव्यू कोर्स भी हमने अभी लॉन्च किया है, जहाँ की हमारे एक कर्नल मेहरोत्रा साहब और मैं, हम दोनों बहुत लंबे समय तक एसएसबी में इंटरव्यू अफसर रहे हैं. सो आप मॉक इंटरव्यू जो ऑनलाइन है ऑप्शन, उसको आप सिलेक्ट कर सकते हैं एंड यू कैन टेक मॉक इंटरव्यू on one mock interview or many mock interviews, and I am very sure you will be able to prepare yourself well for the your test in the SSB. All the best to you. जय हिंद.
अब डिफेंस एग्जाम क्रैक करना हुआ और भी आसान, त्रिशूल डिफेंस एकेडमी लेकर आए हैं बिल्कुल ही एडवांस लर्निंग ऐप. तो आज ही ज्वाइन करें और स्टार्ट करें अपनी ऑनलाइन क्लासेस.